Welcome, everyone. We've got our bird cam here again. You can see us all waving from our bird's eye view high above the screen. Well, it's always very interesting to see how the poll comes out, because that really points us in a direction of what's up for people, what themes are up, what's up for healing, what's in the mind percolating and asking for a healing resolution, a calm healing resolution. And it was interesting, in both our English poll and the Spanish poll, coming in at number one was learning to accept my brothers exactly as they are. It was number one in the English poll, and it was tied for number one in the Spanish poll. So that's an interesting topic, learning to accept my brothers exactly as they are. And it implies that we don't really know our brother and sister, because if we really knew them exactly as they are, then we would know ourselves exactly as we are. And we would know God exactly as God is. And so there seems to be a veil of fear that's clouding the mind. And so this movie tonight will be an inroads for us to pierce through the cloud of judgment, or as we had in a recent movie that we showed, Other Life, the coding. How do we break past the coding? How do we get underneath the programming, the conditioning, the coding of the ego, and see our brothers and accept them exactly as they are? And then in both polls, coming in after that was facing wrongness, guilt, and failure. So this movie is also very good for that, because we know that the judgments of the ego bring about a feeling of wrongness and failure and generate guilt, and that true love is beyond that feeling of wrongness and guilt and failure, and yet it seems to be so shielded, so denied, so covered up. It's like we have to peel the onions of consciousness, the layers in the onions, to get down to the core, which is this divine love, this I am presence. And at times we could say that in this world, with the self-concept, it's like in a sense of being adapted and adjusted to the world, to stabilize, to make the perception somewhat normalized, to somewhat palatable, somewhat livable, even though we know inside intuitively that there's much more than what meets the eye, much more than perception is showing us. And let's talk just a moment about love. You know, love is something Jesus says, if you achieve the faintest glimmering of love, you have advanced in distance without measure and in time beyond the count of years. It's all about the love. The Beatles told us, all you need is love. We heard it straight from the Beatles, and there's something in our hearts that know that love is the answer. And yet, it has been, for many, you could say, and for the human experience, it's been pushed out of awareness. We have adapted and adjusted to the world that the ego has presented to our mind, and we have bought it hook, line, and sinker. Even though there's something in us that knows there has to be more than this. There has to be more than this perceptual world. It actually is helpful to be reminded of that passage in the workbook of A Course in Miracles. Sometimes when we start to get too lulled to sleep, and we start to try to find comfort in sleeping, Every time I start to feel like, oh, I just want to have a good sleep, I like that passage in the workbook that says, the world was made as an attack upon God, a place where God can enter not. Don't really hear that in other non-dual teachings, but it's very strong. It's basically saying that you don't really know the meaning of love, because if you did, the world would not be there to see. It would be in the mind of God, and that's where the meaning of love can be found. But we do have lots of opportunities to forgive, and this movie is really a very spectacular movie at taking us inward, pulling on our heartstrings, calling us inside, very deep inside our heart, to the place where we can experience a touch of that beautiful love. We can start to feel it. You better have your Kleenex tissues ready tonight, because the Holy Spirit's going to start to pull some heartstrings in there. It's going to start to awaken this ancient feeling of love. And it takes quite a movie to do that, to really reach in and have the tears pouring out, to really feel that touch inside. One of the themes in this movie is starting to realize that intellectual achievement is highly overrated. So this movie is really good at showing that. And many of us have experienced a lot of intellectual achievement, but this movie shows it's highly overrated. This movie, the title of this movie comes from a Dr. Seuss book. I think of all the Dr. Seuss books, this was my favorite Dr. Seuss book, Green Eggs and Ham. And I am Sam, I am, from the book Green Eggs and Ham, Dr. Seuss. I remember I just loved the way the rhymes came, and you didn't know what was coming, where it was going. I loved the illustrations. It kind of like reminded me of Yoko Ono. Reading Dr. Seuss helped start to dismantle my perception of the world. As a child, I was being dismantled a little bit by Dr. Seuss. And our movie tonight is I Am Sam. And some of you know Sean Penn plays Sam, the lead character. Michelle Pfeiffer plays Rita. She plays a lawyer. And a very young Dakota Fanning plays Lucy. Sam is, you might say, has a learning disability. The main character in this movie has a learning disability. He has the intellectual capabilities. Even though he's a grown man, he has the intellectual capabilities of a 7-year-old. So it's too difficult for him to make a cup of coffee or to take a bus across a city with his intellectual capacities. Sometimes people have called it mental retardation, or they may say that he has tendencies towards autism. But Sam has a huge heart. And you may have noticed that. I don't know if any of you have had the privilege of being around children and adults who have been labeled as learning disabilities, but I actually worked for a number of months at a vocational rehabilitation center, and so there were times in my life in my 20s where I was surrounded by these amazing individuals that were diagnosed with learning disabilities, and they had so much light pouring through them. Light, laughter, love, hugs. They were diagnosed as learning disabilities, but it was one of the most pleasant work experiences I ever had. I thought, I love working with these people. I just love it every day. And it was fantastic. And what was so beautiful was the light was shining through so bright in their eyes, and yet they didn't have the intellectual capacities that people said that they should have. That's why they called it learning disability. Now, actually having gotten into the Course and really worked with Jesus, I'm starting to realize that the whole world is backwards and upside down, and that these children and adults that I worked with that were diagnosed as having disabilities actually chose that form, chose that capacity. I've actually, a good friend of mine in Australia is Tia, and she's an amazing artist, and she always said she had, the people always told her she had Asperger tendencies, and she to the world seemed at times very inward and reclusive, but she always laughed and would tell me she's just a mystic at heart. And then she would paint these spectacular paintings and this spectacular art that would come from her. And I have found that that's where the world is backwards and upside down, that we have believed in learning, and we believe that learning progresses and that you develop skills and abilities for survival. We believe that to fall in love, you have to grow up to be a mature adult, a functioning adult with functioning intellectual capacities, and you have to be able to meet the world on the world's terms. And then they have this thing called romance and all these things that are piled on. And actually, Jesus tells us in the Course that this world is for unlearning. He doesn't have a lot of complimentary things to say necessarily about learning as the ego has set it up, because he says the entire world you perceive is learned. And you took every step to learn this world of illusion, never pausing to ask yourself, what am I doing this for? In this world, learning is so positive. Everybody talks about learning with a positive connotation. And even with the title of the book, A Course in Miracles, I had to laugh at some point, because at some point I was working with the Course and I just laughed and I said, this Course, Jesus, is all about unlearning. You call it a course, but it's about unlearning. And this Course is about undoing. This Course isn't about doing and achieving in the worldly sense of intellectual capacity, skills, abilities, and all kinds of worldly achievements. This is about letting go of everything you think and think you know. This Course is about emptying your mind and coming to a whole new purpose. The reason that all this intellectual capacity is so valued is for the survival of the body. And what Jesus is showing us is you have great need of miracles. It's your perception, your distorted perception that needs healing. It's not the body that needs healing. It's the perception of the world and the body that needs healing. And in order to do this, you will have to unlearn everything that you have learned, including time and space. So now, for a lot of us who have all of our intellectual achievements, we need a movie like this, because here comes along a movie in which the main character, who has the intellectual capacity of a 7-year-old, he has a girlfriend, and the girlfriend happens to be a homeless woman, and they have sexual intercourse, they have a child, and she takes off. That's just too overwhelming for the homeless woman to raise a daughter. And then we have a situation where we have a a man with learning disabilities, with an intellectual capacity of what the world would say 7 years old, and his daughter is 7, and she's moving towards 8, and she's bright. And so her intellectual capacities are overtaking her parent. That's an interesting situation. That's an out of pattern experience. That goes against the learning development that we're taught in psychology. Parents typically have higher capacity, and they're required to lead and guide and teach and nurture using their intellectual capacity. And this whole movie is going to topple a lot of these things, because clearly, if we're going to find the true meaning of love, we have to outgrow the roles of the world. We have to outgrow the intellectual concepts and constructs of the world. We have to outgrow the meaning that we thought was real and true if we're going to know the true meaning of love. Jesus came along and he said, "My kingdom is not of this world." He was speaking of a spiritual kingdom, and that's where the love is. That's what the love is right there. But this world is a world of false concepts that have been overlaid on top of that love, and the love's been pushed out of awareness. Somehow in this movie, we're going to find that light of love breaking through like a beacon, and it comes in ways because it starts to show you there is another way. I find this movie tonight is very miraculous because Sam finds himself in a situation where he loves his daughter, and then the forces of the world, the doctors, the psychologists, the social workers, the people of the world are basically saying, "You can't do this." And he's got a heart of love, a very deep love that's so bright and so shining, and all these witnesses saying, "You're not enough. You are definitely not enough. You don't have the capacity to do it. You don't have the skills to do it, and you are incapable of being a father to this little girl." This is where the miracle enters, because the love will draw forth help. That's what the miracle does. The miracle shows us we're not alone. The miracle shows us we don't have to do it on our own. We can trust the Spirit to bring in help in this awakening process. And this is where I think the movie is very applicable for everyone, because anyone who goes on the spiritual journey and they think that stoically they're going to do it as a person and they're going to find the way to love, they're in for a rude experience, because we need help. We need help at seeing the world differently. We need guidance. We need miracles. We need collaboration. We need helpers. And Sam, with all his love, he is going to draw forth these helpers. He's going to draw forth the helpers of a neighbor. He's got friends that they're just like a gang that love each other, and they're all there to support him. I was thinking of this movie, and I was thinking of that Beatles song, "I get by with a little help from my friends." That's it. He's got some friends that are going to come in there. And in the end, even when they try to take his daughter away and give her to foster parents, the love inside spreads and wins over the foster parents. It's so strong. The love is so big. It sweeps in everything of perception and shows that with love in our heart and with guidance in our heart, we can expand our awareness from what we believed to be important in the world, what we believed to be necessary in the world. There's a part in A Course in Miracles, too, where Jesus says, he gives us a lesson, "I am entitled to miracles." He doesn't say we're entitled to intelligence. He doesn't say we're entitled to skills and abilities. He doesn't say we're entitled to wealth. He doesn't say we're entitled to possessions. He basically says, I am entitled to miracles. And in this movie, you can really feel it because the miracle is underneath everything that plays out. I seem to remember a lot of Beatles music. Does anybody remember that from this movie? I remember some, spirits, miracles, and then it's spicing it up with Beatles music. There's been a number of good movies. What was that movie with Eddie Murphy? Imagine that. That was sprinkled with Beatles. I remember sitting there during this movie and I'm like, wow, I'm getting into the soundtrack. I'm seeing the miracles splash across the screen. And basically this is such a well-made movie that I don't think I'll even have to interrupt with too much commentary. You just have to have your Kleenex box ready because the Holy Spirit's going to pull the strings for you. And that is what you really want. You just want your heart to open. You're just saying, show me the way. I don't know the way. I don't know the way to love, but you do. And I can learn from the experiences of others. I can learn from Sam. I can learn from Lucy. I can learn from Rita. I can learn from all these characters how to step aside and get out of the way and let the miracle come washing through my mind. So enjoy it. You know, we were really just praying on movies and everything, and then Frances said she had not seen this movie, and everyone, "Oh, Frances!" that picked everyone. Suddenly, we had a landslide for I Am Sam. So we never know until the last moment what movie is going to come down for us, but this is the one. So enjoy it. Sit back. This is one of the classic heart-opening movies you're ever going to see. So sit back and let your heart be opened. We'll see you soon. Wow. We're on our way home. We're on our way home. That's beautiful. That's just so beautiful to see. You could just feel everything opening up in you, and it's sometimes it takes a good contrast movie like that to kind of show you so clearly the alternative, you know, the love that is there. It's amazing to think that love is so powerful that it just can orchestrate everything. It orchestrates the healing, it orchestrates the loosening in the mind and the undoing. And wow, just the faith that keeps growing and growing. And you can see too from the whole thing, everybody was blessed by those miracles. You know, even our cat is making all kinds of noises. Here he comes, he's joining in. Yes, we hear you, we hear you. Yes. He's feeling the love. He just has announced himself. Oh, sweet. Wow. Well, I would love to hear what you all have to share. That is amazing. That's just an amazing, heart-opening movie. That's what we called for. We prayed for something to show us beyond the concepts, how we can accept each other exactly as we are, and the faith that it takes. So I see we have Christopher there. I see Christopher there at the monastery. We can start off there.
Meet yourself there.
Simple and sweet. The uncompromising news flash. Only love prevails. So it's an uncompromising news flash that was all throughout the movie, and just opened up my heart. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. That says it all. That says it all.
Okay, well, we got AC there. You can unmute yourself.
Well, there's been quite a history with a daughter of mine who has been, I think, my best teacher of anyone. And everything is coming together now for it's been how many years since she was a child that I've seen her as different. I've seen her as a problem. I've been people pleasing, and it seems like and for the last few weeks it's been like an impossible situation, but all of the elements in this movie of that unconditional love and when we're together now, just not meeting in the house or in a place where we're it's like it gets too intense, the emotions, the fear, whatever. There's miracles upon miracles happening lately with people that she has found that see the Christ in her. And it's like a family with the people that are with her, and they believe in the same things. And she has this, I call it a fantasy, but to her it's Jesus talking about what she needs to do. And so now tomorrow there's a second meeting at a storage shed where she's been packing it to the ceiling with all of this stuff that she wants to use on God's mission. And now it's a time for us to come together, and I can see just me being there holding the presence so that I'm not fearful or trying to tell her anything. But
alert from Google Chrome, Facebook.
So it's like the fear is gone. There's not this worry about what's going to happen or how I should be involved or what I need to do and anything like that. With all of these thoughts that have kept us really from joining. So that love is there like I have never experienced before. And that was what I wanted. That was my reason for coming to the Peace House long ago. I want to love my daughter so deeply that it doesn't matter what words come out of her mouth. It doesn't. That was it. It wasn't to wake up or so I'm coming to understand what was really underneath this desire of my heart and be joined with her in that purpose of unconditional love and forgiveness, whether no matter what she's doing. But and so now it's the time to be authentic and not being afraid of reacting or afraid of having an upset. Because I always thought the worst thing in the world was to have an upset, so I had to protect against that. And it's been really helpful too. I've been doing movies and worksheets and meditating and going back with the course and journaling and doing this kind of stuff to get at what's really down there, what's underneath every upset. So this was fantastic. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, AC. Yeah, this was your training film to prepare you for meeting your daughter. I do remember when you came to Cincinnati there to the Peace House, and I think it was about 2008, and that's 12 years ago, and you've shared that this was your main healing in your life. You were very clear about it, like everything, all these last 12 years has pointed to this healing. So it's like Jesus has given you one last booster rocket of a training film right before you meet her to keep it, to make sure you're on purpose and you've got your transparency out front and that you won't fail and that you can walk right through it. And that's what I loved about this movie too, is because you can see with, not just with Lucy, but with Sam, but also with Rita, how they were all drawn together in such a powerful way to not compromise. You know, it's like Rita, she had a lot of compromise going on in her life that she wasn't facing. And then the little girl, Lucy, she had all this love in her heart, but she had to walk through all these seeming temptations to, let that love grow strong. And of course, the same with Sam. They were all like drawn together in such a way that they don't have to compromise anymore. They could just really give way to the love. Let the love prevail. Let the love shine bright. So it's a perfect training film to come, a perfect reminder before your meeting at that storage shed. So we're all there with you, and you can carry this feeling in your heart when you go to meet her, and just know that it's going to be a miracle.
Yeah, there's just all kinds of things happening with a whole group of people that have been working with her for 4 years now. And that's what it's coming down to. The whole thing is what's best for her, all of us.
Yeah, she's ready for God's mission, and you're going to be there right with her. That's good. Thank you, AC.
Okay, next we have Esther there. You can unmute yourself.
Hi. What came
Hi,
up
Esther.
for me? Hi. What came up for me from watching this movie, some doubt thoughts came up that I'll just share a little bit. My mother can't get off her bed, and her legs are getting worse, and so one night she asked me to come in the middle of the evening, and I slept over, and it was so joyous. And I felt that it was an answer to a prayer I'd been praying in the middle of the night, a couple nights in a row, about her and me. And it was like an answer to a prayer, We cuddled, I slept in her bed, and it was just making sure she would get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and she couldn't get off the floor. And I'd be lying there just sleeping, giving her encouragement. You can do it, Mom. You can do it. And she would, And now she wants to ixnay on the cataract surgery, because when I told her it was 4 hours just to do the evaluation, she's like, "My eye's okay." And I was like, "This is what I'm asking you. she said, no. I said to her, no, it's going to get worse, they said. And then later on, you won't be able to operate. Now, it seems that's teaching through fear, but that's what is coming up for me to say to her, to give her encouragement. And I'm just not sure. I want to accept her truly as she is. But I think sometimes the doubt thoughts enter her mind as well. And I want to give her encouragement, but I want to give her helpful encouragement. And I wanted to know, what could I hold in my mind when she says these things? Or is it okay how I'm approaching this? There's so much that I'm doing for her right now. It's a miracle I don't feel overwhelmed. And it's because I'm just staying in purpose. Like, I just want to be truly helpful. That's what I'm holding in my mind. And I love her so much, and the love is just deepening. And so it doesn't feel like a burden. But like I said, the doubt thoughts that she's having about the surgery, I want to know how to approach that situation. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I could feel the love and helpfulness that's just pouring through you. And we've talked other weeks about how you have to allow that to happen, which you're doing, and going over to be with her, to offer all your love and help for her is so helpful for you. It, like you said, it's an answer to a prayer. And then part of the miracle is to extend and then to honor the choices that were made, that your mother makes. You know, you can't make the choices for her. You can share from your heart what feels given you to share, but that's like both parts of the miracle is sharing what you feel in your heart to share, but also it's very much of an honoring of choices. Especially when you think about it, how in the Course, I think it's lesson 152, the power of decision is my own, that Jesus says that everything that we experience is coming from a choice in our mind. And that is helpful. So you can think of it as like you and your mother are two birds flying in a flock. And she's going to fly the way she's going to fly. You can't live her life for her. You can't make up her mind for her. You can't make her decisions, but you can contact that love in your heart and just give and offer what it feels good for you to offer, and not hold back on that. That's part of it. You don't hold back on saying and offering what you feel to offer. And then the second part is acceptance. You really have to be accepting of her decisions. Without that acceptance, it falls into control, it falls into manipulation. It's like trying to take over a responsibility that you don't have. And it reminds me, of recently I was just sharing on a movie gathering that Jesus has told us that the responsibility for the correction of fear is our own. Jesus even says, I can't take your fear away. I can help you, show you the conditions, but you have to accept responsibility for that correction of fear. And that's what you're doing. That's what all these lessons that are coming up, even the emotions, you're going deeper and deeper to accept the correction, to be able to be calm, to be tranquil, to be loving, to be supportive, and also to be very honoring with the decisions. It reminds me of years ago where I was scheduled to go down to Argentina, to Buenos Aires, and And I bought the ticket, and I was all ready to go. And then my friend, she wrote me an email. She just said, "Oh, it's a disaster, David. Don't come." She said, and then she left a very long, sad message on my answering machine. Her voice dropped a few octaves. "Oh, it's terrible, David. It's terrible. Please don't come," and everything. And when I finally called her, I said, "Well, I'm coming because I already bought the tickets. What's going on?" "Oh, I'm going through a terrible, no, it's my husband. He's found another woman. It's the family. It's just the worst. Oh my God, it's terrible." And, 32 years of marriage, and she was just, I'm heartbroken and everything like this. I said, "Well, that's perfect. I'll come down and cheer you up and join with you." And that's exactly what it was. When I got to the airport, she was there. She brought her husband along. And then I was there for some time, maybe a couple weeks, as just to be the presence of love. And the grown children were upset. And there were raw emotions. They were crying and screaming and everything. But I thrive on this kind of stuff. I mean, I'm supposed to be the light of the world, Throw me right in there. Going through a divorce, bitter divorce, great. Send me right there. So for 2 weeks, I listened to the children trying to tell me what a bastard their father was. I listened to all the screaming, fighting that was going on, who let who down, and how dare, and how dare, and how dare. And then finally I basically sat down with them all and I said, it's just all a choice. And they all looked at me. And I said, we have to honor choices here. We all have a choice in our mind, and what people decide to do with their life, we have to allow them to do what they decide to do. And so I just was this calming presence in the storm saying, we have to be honoring. Everybody has to make their choices, and there's no getting around that. We have to find the love in our hearts and learn to make our choices out of love. But we also have to be extremely respectful and honoring of people's choices. And, she didn't even call her husband by his first name. She called him the king. So the king was going off with another woman. And I finally sat down with them all and I said, okay, he's made his decision. Can we honor that? Without making a big story, without judging, everybody has to make their decisions. Everybody has to live with the consequences and the state of mind that comes from their decision. But we can't make decisions for others. We have to learn how to decide for God in our mind, and then that radiates and brings the blessing. So I think this is the big lesson. And every Wednesday when we talk about this, it does seem like we do come back to, you have to follow your heart, and you have to speak your heart, and you have to let the love in your heart come through for your mother, and you're doing that. And then you also have to let her make her decisions, because all that worry does and all that concern does is takes you out of the present moment. It just takes your mind to a place that it really doesn't. You don't deep down want to be there. You want to be able to come back and be at peace, and I think you're doing that. So it's beautiful. Every week it's beautiful. You're getting that to that point.
Okay, well, next we can go to Diana. You can unmute that.
Hi, David.
Hi there.
I just wanted to mention really quickly the concept of true empathy. It was mentioned, and I couldn't, when I wrote it down in my notes, I can't remember who said it, but I remember whoever said it, they were referring to the child, to Lucy, that she possessed true empathy. I mean, with her father, she didn't. I mean, sure, she referenced at times about, you know, that he had an IQ of a young child, but I mean, she didn't make a big deal of it. She just really looked over it. It was about the love and the connection with her father, and she just that's the lens that she looked out into the world with, that true empathy. And I thought that was incredible. As soon as I heard that true empathy, I was like, oh my God, ding, ding, ding. You know, spirit was like, ding, ding, ding. And so I wrote that down because to me, that's the difference between holding someone in the light, keeping a brother or sister in the light, or keeping a brother or sister in hell. And I don't want to be in hell. And I don't want to hold my brother and sister in hell. So it's true empathy. So that's all I wanted to say. And I just wanted to thank you for everything.
Thank you, Deanna. Thank you. I think that was, to me, a pivotal point in the movie when they kind of surrounded her and were coming at her and trying to convince her that her father was not enough. And she used the Beatle line that I referred to at the setup as an answer to their query about, you know, just that they wanted her to admit that he was not enough, that he couldn't do it. And she said, all you need is love. You know, she used the Beatle line. So that's to me, that's the true empathy, you know, really to come from that place in your heart where you really feel that the extending and the giving of love is something that we cannot really be blocked from because we have an unlimited storehouse of love. Jesus says you have an unlimited storehouse of miracles to give away. There's not a limit to it. And it's only the temptation to believe that someone's not good enough, not enough, wrong in some way, that is the temptation to wrongness. And clearly that is not accepting our brothers as what they really are. You know, the love is, but we have to give it to know that it's true for us and for everyone. So that's beautiful. That's a key point. That was a true empathy moment when little Lucy said, all you need is love, as an answer to the questions that were coming at her.
Thank you, Peter. I was like, oh my God, okay, I did write that because it's right above. I wrote true empathy for people, all of them. And then right above that, I put Lucy, daughter, and then all you need is love.
Yeah.
And when I was at the monastery today, Edna actually was talking to me. My song has been like the Beatles, Let It Be. That just always comes up when I seem to need like a boost from spirit. That tends to come up. And Edna starts singing that song. Speaking words of wisdom, let it be, oh, let it be. And I just knew in this movie, I thought that song's going to come up. I know it is. And it didn't. But you know what? That's okay. Because the Beatles came up repeatedly. It's all good. It's all good. So yeah. So David, these movies are such a blessing. I've shared with you before, I never watched movies. That just wasn't something I did. And I see they're just so transformational. This internal healing that happens, and unlearning, shedding, and the internal healing. I'm just grateful. Thanks, David.
Thank you, Deanna.
Thank you so much.
Okay, well, next we can go to Susan Jameson. Unmute that.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, Susan.
Hi. So that was a perfect movie for tonight. I mean, for me, for all of us. I went through a lot of tissues. I really, really felt so much in that movie. And there were so many Beatles songs and so many references to home, on our way home, home. And even for me, going to loving my Father, and I'm speaking about our Father in heaven, and not wanting to be separated from him and just feeling that, and thank God we never did. Thank God that the Course in You reminds us over and over that we are home, no matter what we think is going on. It isn't true. We're home. We love our Father loves us, and we've never been separate. And I really was feeling that, in the movie with that child and the genius acting of Sam. It was extraordinary. And I've had the opportunity of working with people who are on the spectrum, and those times were probably some of the happiest times I've had, because I was a choreographer for a telethon for the UCP dancers, United Cerebral Palsy. But these were people, all kinds of people. And we had a little company called the Joy of Dance. And I never, as you were expressing, felt so much love and so much acceptance. And we'd always start by, way before COVID, placing our hands on each other's backs and say, I've got your back. I've got your back. And the love, the giving and receiving unconditionally of love. This was years ago, actually, and I still have one young woman who performs every night, Ashley, and she invites me every day. Sometimes I get on there and I'm loving her and just, sharing, but they're just amazing. So, this film just makes me so much more grateful for that experience, and even to do it again. And I'll even put up some photos, because we just had a blast. I was one with them. There was no difference, no difference at all. So, what an experience of love that was. And, I really feel when AC speaks, because I have that issue with my daughter. And, I feel that with her, that the only thing I can do right now is love her. That's it. And the other day I wrote her a message, you're loved. And she goes, I know, and so are you. And then once in a while I'll get a song. I got Maybe This Time from Liza Minnelli, because she hasn't forgiven me for going off and doing spiritual work instead of being there for her. So I made a note, if anything, she sees me as different. Why couldn't I just have a normal mother? Why couldn't you just be a normal mom? And she went off, as you know, I've said this, she has a PhD in psychology. She has no interest in it. But because mother is the core student, or mother is spirit, all those things, she doesn't have any interest. So all I do, I just love her, and I pray. And I pray for that miracle when we might come together. Because I used to think, well, it'll happen. I'll come with the course, and she'll come with this. And I even had spiritual guidance that it would happen, but it hasn't happened yet. So I have to be very patient and know, even if it doesn't happen, all that you shared tonight, just to accept, she's making choices and decisions, and so am I, So I just feel all that emotion, and I don't want it to be sentiment. I want it to be authentic, and just let her know I love her, I care about her. I'm here for her. And I point the way to God, but she doesn't have that interest now. not now. Okay, so that's
beautiful.
well, what a beautiful
Yeah.
film. Oh, if I may mention, there's a friend of mine, Tracy. He actually purchased, I know we all don't know him here. He was here last week, and that was a very, very different movie. He was actually, here. And he has a young man living in his house right now who's in an institution right now. They took him out of his home and they put him, because he's helping out this young man. So that's why he isn't here tonight. He's had to deal with literally someone like this, but who actually took off all his clothes and went on the porch. But he loves to sing. He loves to play guitar. So I thought I would just mention it here because he's working with someone, and it's been very difficult. But he also has a huge heart, and I think he'll be back here, watching movies with us soon.
Yeah, beautiful.
So that's me.
Oh, thank you, Susan. Yeah, that's it. I felt it too. All those Beatles songs, and then wow, what an ending scene, kind of above as he's racing around, and all the children are following him, and what on our way home, that's like a culmination of the whole thing. A perfect song to cap off a perfect a whole medley of Beatles songs that are just so great. So, and yeah, I think that's to keep the faith. It's like it's some of the recent lessons, workbook lessons, and God Himself will wipe away all tears. And then it wasn't too long ago, I love my Father and I love His Son. And it's like so much of the time on planet Earth seems to be wanting to be loved. It's a big story about wanting to be loved, and it's in all the love songs and everything. But it's like it's starting to dawn that we have to give what we will receive, and it's actually giving our love and loving God and loving ourselves. It's so convincing, and then these things like your relationship with your daughter, like AC was mentioning, here it is. It's a culmination of everything's coming to a point now. Everything's coming to a head just for this, like the crescendo of the concert. We're ready for the crescendo, and we're ready to love, and that's like a part of the St. Francis prayer. I want to love, because that's how I know that I am loved. It's in the giving of it. So that's beautiful. I always like to think of that too in terms of spirituality and principles. It's not like anybody or any person needs to get it or be ready. It's just, am I willing to give it? It's really the question. It always comes back to that, and I can feel it's activated now. From the movie and the songs and everything, and that's what we prayed for. We prayed to have all the love activated. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, well, next we can go to Peter Block. You can unmute yourself there.
Sure. Thank you, Peter. Hi, David.
Hi, Peter.
Hey. Yeah, these movies always sneak up on me. I'm surprised if you don't know when they're going to sort of hit you and when they're not. Like last week's movie, I just got nothing from it. I couldn't even tell what the movie was about last week, actually. And then today again, I thought halfway through the movie, I thought like nothing, and then bang, and it just hits you. Just the last couple of weeks I've been struggling with my spirituality side and then the ego material side, all through life. And this movie really helped with that, especially with Sam, because I could see so much of myself as Sam from a child, even to where I am now, just because feeling so different from the world, so alienated from the world, like an outcast world, just not fitting in, just and on that spiritual side ever since I was young. And then with Michelle Pfeiffer as a lawyer, especially when she opened up about all her failings in her marriage and in life and with her children as well, it just brought home my sense of failing with the course I've been doing for so long, just the last couple of weeks I've been going through. And at the same time, my failing with the material side of life and not achieving that way as well, but not really wanting to either, because I've always had that spiritual side with me. So I had both these things going on at the same time, and it really, really hit home really strong. I wasn't expecting to. I thought, there's no way I've got nothing to share. Then bang, it just happens like that. It was much like the two popes, really. That sort of affected me that way as well, because you had Pope Francis with the spiritual side, I thought, then Pope Benedict with the ego side. But this was much deeper, mainly because of Sam. I just related to that as a child more and all through my life more. So, yeah, it really opened up emotions in me. And it's just where I was or where I am now, just failings on both sides with the course and failings with life in general. And then with the kids too, like I didn't even want to look at that. That was enough for today. But with the kids as well. But it really hit home, and a really great movie, I thought. I just wanted to share that.
Oh, it's beautiful. I could just feel how strong the spirit was, because Rita, Michelle Pfeiffer's character, she was, I don't lose, and my marriage isn't so bad, and she had a pretty strong cover there. And then when she says, if you're not going to open the door, I'm leaving. I've had it. I'm through. Then she just turns, comes, kicks the door down, and then she gets in there, and he's all barricaded behind it. But I think it's again the Holy Spirit that orchestrates everything that comes up. When he started saying, "You're perfect. You're not like me. You're perfect, and you don't have any emotions." I thought, there it comes. That's the line. That's the one that's gonna cave. She's gonna cave in after that one, and she just burst right through the barricade, and then that's when all of her stuff came up. It seems like the Spirit knows just the right words. No matter how much of a wall we've constructed, no matter how solid it seems, and how much bravado and pride that we have there, the Spirit knows that just the words to pull the string. And then, wow, the healing seemed to get even stronger and stronger for both of them. Even them having that meal, where he's just sitting there, and, he says, you need to leave your husband, and I need to get Lucy back, in such calmness. The wisdom and the clarity and the guidance can even pour through once that wall comes down. And I know you've been very transparent. Like, it's not been easy for you hanging in there with the course. And then, as you say, these movies, it may be like, no, I don't feel a thing. Boom. There's just that moment in every movie where it starts to crack open, and that's what you're praying for. You wanna get to that point where it cracks open, and then you can feel what's going on, and then you also can move through it too. The wall was just to protect ourselves from feeling certain feelings. But this movie is pretty much like a masterpiece, of another great masterpiece at bringing down the wall. So thank you for your willingness and your transparency to hang in there with all these movies. Thank you.
Okay, well, we've got Stephen there. You can unmute yourself.
Hey, thank you. Hold on a minute. It's a little bit dark in here, so I got to get my light on. I got to get my light on. It's like, oh, now I get it. No, David, thank you. This was a gusher flusher for me. If I wasn't laughing, I'm crying. And I've got like Susan has got the box of Kleenex thinking, oh boy, okay, this is good. This is really like bringing all this stuff up. And here's that lawyer theme again. And here I am trying to extricate myself from this attention whore called Babylon of law. And realizing, boy, as I try to dismantle and release all that, just wants to suck my attention back into it to try to, I'm thinking, wait a minute. Okay, Holy Spirit, you understand where I want my attention and got to let this thing go, and then watching it pull me back in to try to let it go. So that was a fascinating ride to see the contrast here with Rita and this whole story. But there was a lot of things that caught my attention that I really enjoyed. And I thought, ooh, that was a good line. When they're reading the story together, and she won't say the word different. She won't say it. She pretends like she doesn't know it. And he says, I'm your father, and I'm telling you to read the word. And I thought, oh, I like that. That's like a voice telling me to read the word. And it's just like pick up on the vibration. I'm sending you symbols, and I'm sending you signals, and here's the poetry, here's the text, here's the workbook, here's this and that. I'm your father. I'm telling you, read the word. And it's kind of like, here's your word. Here's your vibration. Read it, pick it up, and go with it. So I like that. And I like that story they were reading because it was something, Pip. I didn't catch the exact title of it, but they perched in silence. How can we be different and feel all alike was the question. They perched in silence, and the question was, how can we be different and yet feel all alike? And it's a mystery. And I thought, well, there's your teaching right there. How can we got to get into the silence, and then there's the question, there's the mystery, and there it is revealed, is how can we appear to be different but get into the sameness? I really like that. I thought, too, about the song, All You Need Is Love. And I'm thinking I'm going to tweak that word need and just put R, A-R-E. All you are is love. You don't need it. But yeah, until I guess we encounter it and realize it and let it come through us, then I suppose we need it to pump it out of ourselves or let it come through ourselves. But I love that. I love when Rita was calling home. She's frustrated. So she's telling the phone, home. And the phone says dialing office. And then she says home. And the phone, the default is dialing office, and she says home, God damn it. And I love that because it made me realize that there's the default setting. There's the patterns. It's always going to pull my attention into the world, to go to the office, to be productive, to do the work, to get it all organized and to solve the chaos problem. But what really is like, no, home. And already touched upon that theme others have of home. That I chuckled at that. I love when she's trying to convince him, can you grasp the concept of manipulating the truth? And he says, and she says, not lying, just a little tweak here and there. And I thought, boy, isn't that compromise? Isn't that the very definition of compromise? Just tweak it. Just tweak it a little bit, manipulate that truth. And he says, no, I can't. My mind, I can't grasp it. I also loved this part where he was looking skyward when he's asked questions and he's on the stand, and he looks skyward. It's like he's pulling down the information, and he's tapping into a song, he's tapping into a movie, he's tapping into some kind of answer. But I love that symbolism of there's the creation, there's the shared creative energy. And of course they say, oh, that's from Kramer versus Kramer, his soliloquy on fatherhood and this and that. It came from Kramer versus Kramer, as if it's not a valid statement. It's like, no, that's coming from the creative truth, and it's shared across all minds. We just got to tap into it. And I love how that works in my dream in terms of the poems, the music, the movies, this coming through and picking up these metaphors. There it is. There's the symbols that we need, that I need, to help me say, there it is again, there it is again. I love how that looking skyward just opened that for me. And then the question of, then he's being asked basically on the stand, when is he good enough? Is he a good enough father? And he's just being pressed by that, the other attorney. And he says, I want to stop right now. This is the end of this for me, okay? And I thought, there's got to be a better way. I want the merry-go-round to stop. I want this to stop right now. I love that. For some reason, the whole thing of friend but not familiar, is saying good customer service is being a friend but not familiar. That struck me. And I got to thinking about that as of the friend, which is really just the reflection, the clear mirror friend with no agenda other than to just be present. And then the familiar, which is really comes from that word family, which really comes from a domesticated servant type of component. So I took that in my mind as holiness, specialness. Which way do you want to go here, friend or familiarity? And I think the familiarity is what we're drawn to in my ego mind, is we want the familiar, we want the sentiment. And it's like that's going to just imprison me further with my false ideas. I did look up origami, and I knew there was something there. And origami stands for hope and healing. Its deeper symbolism is it's hope and healing is what the purpose of origami is. And of course, that wall, as you already talked about, of the wall of separation, then comes tumbling down, and all the intricate patterns I would build to reinforce that wall in my dream. Here comes the sun. That was beautiful. I love the part, and I'll end with this. He says, I can't do it by myself. I can't do this by myself. I can't sort this out by myself. And that was, for me, that just touched me. And he said, you're not just anyone. You're the red in her painting. And I thought, wow, that's gorgeous, because he recognized he needed the help. And that was big, huge for him, that the mother figure, there it is, that he needed that piece too, and that she was the red in Lucy's painting. And there's Lucy again, the light. So anyway, thank you. That was, I thought, as much as I was crying and letting it come through, I thought there's no way I could say anything. I'm just going to shut up. And then I thought, no, this is too good. I got to share this stuff. But thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephen. Yeah, it is, like you say, kind of it's a bit of a dismantling. I mean, I think of Rita's character, because you're kind of dismantling through the whole law thing, and there she is, the lawyer. When he first comes there, he comes because she's got a four-word name, a powerful, fast-talking, high-powered lawyer, that his friends are saying, that's what you need. You need your own lawyer, and you need that. And right away, she's like saying, you can't afford me. And then she just tries to pawn him off to somebody, and then when he keeps asking about this one, I'm not in contact with her anymore. I lost her number, and around and around. Then when the words kind of slip out of her mouth in front of her colleagues, pro bono. Oh boy, was that funny. The looks on all the colleagues, like, oh, look who used the pro bono word. And then it was a dare, truth or dare, like they were all daring her to go forward. But then she tried to tell Sam, I told you this at the beginning. And he didn't remember that. She didn't tell him that. So she was trying to cover her tracks again. But it was a beautiful movie, because it just shows how far you can go off into compromise and lies, even saying, I'm on the highway right now, I'm here, I'm there. She did the distortions of where she was even out on the phone a number of times. And then what a perfect one to meet, come together with Sam to start to pop all those balloons, that had been built up. And I'm sure she was thinking, I don't even know a way out. Her marriage, her relationship with her son, her struggles with her profession, struggles all across the board, and then the bravado, I don't lose, I've got it together, and then, wow, it just came dissolving. And the love just was so strong when all that fell apart and dissolved. So I know that has to be good for you to let all those emotions wash through, and then to see that symbol that she was. Rita really, she went through the washing machine there, but it was beautiful. It was, it's the kind of symbols we need to see people go through that dismantling. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, David, we've got Helena there. You can unmute yourself.
Can you hear me? Hi.
Yes.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for this movie, and thank you. Everyone's sharing was so helpful. Oh my gosh, I was crying from beginning to end, except for the few funny parts. So I'm glad there was a few sprinkled through the movie. Yeah, it just really I think brought up so much of the inadequacy I felt as a parent. And when Sam's saying like, I try and I try and I try, and it's like he just can't, that's totally how I felt. Just this belief that I can't change, I can't, and there's some kind of like a feeling of being doomed with that belief. And yeah, just so much of their core, like I'll never be enough, or all of that, just that deep stuff. It was like, and then just the antidote that it's only love that matters, and that's only love that's required. And it's like, okay, like I have that in there somewhere. I do. I've seen it. But yeah, it just is so touching, this movie. I've seen it before, and it's just tears. So when you said I am Sam, I'm like, oh no. I knew it was going to be just all the way through, so many tears. It was just super touching and super healing for me to see that again. Like I clearly needed that reinforcement that it's love. And recently I felt the spirit guide me to reach out to an after school care program, and it's like unheard of in this city that there's spots available. Usually you're on wait lists for years to get your kids in after school care, but this place I was guided to had 3 spots, and I have 3 kids, and it was just like, what? You can accept all my kids? I was like shocked. And so the kids were enrolled, and everything was very swift. And then the weekend before they started, I was having intense dreams, really, really intense dreams. Like dreams like Zach was in a cult and I couldn't get him out, and all kinds of very intense stuff. And I asked the spirit, like, what is this about? And I heard the spirit say, it's neglect. You believe that you can neglect your children. And yeah, it's like, I believe that if I needed to see that, if they're not in my care, then I thought I'd be neglecting them. And it's like, I guess in this movie too, like Sam wanted to be there, and at the end he just realized that it does take a whole team, it does take a whole village, and she was better off with all of the loving care that came in for her. And once those boys started after school care, they were so happy, and it was like a miracle, David. It was just reinforced for me too, that like, oh my God, they came home and they're like, they gave us waffles. And I'm like, waffles? You got waffles? And they're like, yeah, Mom, and we got a cookie and milk. They gave us, I'm like, okay. Like, so yeah, it's just been like very healing for me too, releasing and letting go and letting the spirit bring in the care for them, and showing me that it's safe and it's God's plan for them, and for me too, like freeing me up a bit, because it's just so much carried on my shoulders. Like, so yeah, thank you again for this beautiful movie.
Thank you, Helena. Yeah, the foster mom, played by Laura Dern, that was an amazing symbol too, because she was, once she had Lucy, very protective. When Sam comes up with the dogs, what are you doing here? This is not right. We need to do what's best for Lucy, and and the boundaries and all the different things. And then when she came at the end over carrying Lucy, what a moment. She just melted. She gave up all thoughts of control, all thoughts of neglect, all thoughts of protectionism, and she just totally, so much so that she said she didn't want to even take Lucy back to their house for fear that she would wake up and realize she wasn't home. So she had totally reoriented the home to being with Sam, the way she said the sentence. She did a total flip, and you could just see it on her face. She just didn't have any of that stress, any of that tension. It was so warm. And then that's when Sam could open up and say, she needs a mother. I've always thought she needed a mother. I can't do this alone. It just like the miracles just came gushing through, like cascading through there. So that's beautiful that you followed that prompt, you had that miracle, and then you got the witness too. They had waffles and milk, There goes all the thoughts of neglect. My God, they're happy. I had a miracle and they're happy. It just shows us we need a lot of those convincing experiences to wash away the guilt of thinking, we need to protect somebody, or on the flip side, we're neglecting, because the ego just always tries to use the guilt card, and now we're starting to realize we don't have to play that card anymore. So thank you. I know you love these movies. Another great movie. Yeah. Thank you. Sweet.
Okay, David, that's all the hands for this evening.
Okay, wow, what a great one. Well, thank you. Thank you for being here with us and sharing the whole experience with us. And it's nice. I like a movie like that just takes us on an adventure, a healing adventure. And we all went down the rabbit hole with the spirit on that one. So thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you again. And we just had a meeting today too. We've got a year-end experience, so we're going to have it'll be probably a multi-language translated movie. Sometimes I do these on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but we'll have that. What day would that be? Like the 20th?
Wednesday, 30th.
30th. 30th. December 30th. A year-end extravaganza where we'll have hopefully all of you and maybe about 970 other people all in a Zoom room together, all watching a movie together on December 30th, 5 days after Christmas. And we're going to ring in the new year with a giant movie gathering. So we're just we're in the planning stages right now, but we're going to upgrade our Zoom platform for December. So that's part of the fruition of that. So we hope you'll be, if you have an opportunity, you'll be with us with that too. That should be a fun experience. I don't know what the movie will be, but I'm sure the Spirit will give us a great movie. Okay. Thank you. Blessings.